Hey, it's Kelby. In this video, I'll show you how to use Rock My Retirement's Sandbox feature. Sandboxes can help you explore different what-if situations and immediately see how they would affect the way your retirement holds up in all scenarios at once. Let's take a look at how they work. Rock My Retirement has 4 different buckets into which you can put your information. Let's call the main one Main Data, and let's call the other one Sandboxes 1, 2, and 3. When you start the program, all of these buckets are empty because you haven't input any data yet. Now, let's suppose that you begin inputting your information. By default, the information is going into the main data bucket. If you want to experiment with different what-if information, you'll select one of the sandboxes and reset it so that it starts with a copy of the information currently in the main data. Now, you can experiment by changing some of the information in Sandbox 1. If you prefer the results you're getting using the sandbox, you can implement the sandbox, which copies that sandbox data back to the main data. Let me show you how to do all this. I've already input some information in the main data. I've added some expenses and a brokerage account with $1 million. I've allocated 100% of my account to large cap stocks. I'd like to see how things would look if I changed the allocation to 60% large cap stocks and 40% treasuries. So I'm clicking the Use Sandbox button in the upper right. This is how I select a sandbox. Any changes I make now will be stored in Sandbox 1. I'm clicking the Reset button, so Sandbox 1 is now a copy of my main data. Now I'm modifying the allocation to put 60% in large cap stocks and 40% in treasuries. The graphs have updated to show how a 60-40 allocation would play out. I'd like to compare those graphs to the 100% stock allocation I had before, so I'm clicking and unclicking Use Sandbox to switch back and forth. Let's suppose that I prefer Sandbox 1. I now want to update the main data to reflect what's in Sandbox 1. That's super simple. I'm pressing the Implement button, which copies the Sandbox 1 information into my main data. Now I can go back to the main data by unclicking Use Sandbox, and the main data reflects the selections I made in Sandbox 1. I would recommend that you use the sandboxes to experiment with lots of things, even things that might seem like they shouldn't make any sense. There are often counterintuitive reasons why those things are actually worth doing. For example, we know that large cap stocks get an average 10.5% total rate of return, and bonds don't get anything close to that. So your intuition might tell you that you're better off with a 100% stock allocation. But look what happens with that allocation. In scenarios like 1968 through 1977, I would run out of money. That's because if I retired in 1968, I would have experienced 2 bear markets in my first 5 years of retirement. Inflation would have driven my expenses through the roof for 15 years. I'd be selling lots of stock at a discount to pay for ever-growing expenses, and I'd run out before my money can come back. That's a recipe for disaster. But the 60-40 allocation gets me through that scenario just fine. By having 40% bonds, I don't get hammered as hard by those back-to-back bear markets. And during the 1970s, interest rates were high enough to largely offset inflation. So this 60-40 allocation helps me in the worst-case scenarios. You'll find this happens a lot. There are many strategies that will be the wrong strategy for most scenarios, but the right strategy for the worst-case scenarios. And that's okay, because most of us calibrate our standard of living based on what the worst-case scenarios would provide just to be safe. So please use the Sandboxes tool to try different strategies and patch vulnerabilities in your retirement plan. Well, that wraps up this video on Sandboxes, and I hope that the Sandboxes tool helps you rock your retirement.